Hello everyone, this is Meidus, and in this video I will tell you about some of the best representatives of the strategies. I would also like to say that this is only my personal opinion and I just decided to tell you about worthy projects in this genre. You can share about other games in the comments, I will be grateful for that. Without further ado, let's get started. First, I want to introduce you Bad Nose. In this game, you will be in the role of the general who protects various islands from Vikings. The visuals of the game are pleasing to the eye, the controls are simple. Your goal is to protect as many houses as possible. After defending the first island, you are thrown onto a map where you can choose where to send your commanders next. There are usually several islands to choose from, and on some of them you will receive either a new squad of soldiers or an amulet that you can later give to one of the commanders. Amulets are different from passive to those that are activated during battle. Also, squad commanders have different character traits. This is another kind of passive abilities. Depending on the protected buildings, you will receive gold, which you can spend on upgrading units. Each squad can become swordsmen, spearmen, or archers, mainly effective against certain type of enemies. But still, the game turned out raw. Despite the cool idea, there is not much content in the game, enough for 2 or even 1 run. Next we have SteamWorld Heist. The game tells about a pirate team for whom life is not easy after the uprising, because they have to fight on two fronts. At the heart of the gameplay is the interesting shooting mechanic, with ricochets and a variety of weapons. During the game, you board enemy ships. Afterward, you must perform certain actions. For example, destroy generators, take loot, or simply destroy all opponents. Depending on the size of the ship at the mission, there may be a different number of participants in the landing group. There are 10 characters in the game, each with their own skills and characteristics. Some can only use heavy weapons and some pistols or assault rifles. Weapons in the game are plentiful, from banal guns that looks like junk and barely hold together, and heavy rocket launchers. And this is a good. Add to this a good graphics and a good story, and you get a great game for 15-20 hours. Into the Breach. Many consider this game to be the best example of turn-based tactical strategy. The action unfolds in a fantasy future where cities are attacked by huge insects. You will command a squad of 3 units, and your goal is to protect cities. Due to procedural generation, situations are completely different. Although the visuals are not the most outstanding, the developers worked hard on balance. You will need to carefully calculate the moves so that there are no losses. One small mistake can change the course of the battle. Various events can occur during moves. For example, an earthquake, additional equipment falling, or reinforcements appearing for enemies. Not rarely, this situation changes the outcome of the battle, and at the end of the battle, a small piece of map can remain. After missions, you can get new equipment for units, or you can level someone up by rising up stats. After a few fights, you need to take down the bug box. The bosses are not bad and each one needs its own approach. After victory you can open a new commander with unique passive abilities or a completely different new team of units with radically different skills, what will give a new experience in the next runs. Fights have a more spectacular look in fights in tight places. As the name of the game says, the space will be limited, so sometimes you won't be able to throw an enemy into an occupied tile or dodge if you're jammed. But on the other hand, you can use the environment to your advantage. For example, smash an enemy against a bar table. Movement is limited and there are few enemies who will try to jam you, so it's important to control the space. You need to collect a deck of different punches and then use them in fistfights. There are more than 200 cards that are suitable for different situations. The fights are not entirely fair, as some of the enemies even have firearms, weapons and katanas. Missions are different, in some you need to destroy the leader and just survive, and in other you need to protect VIP. In Schools of the Shogun, the player has to lead an army of undead. After being stabbed in the back, the legendary General Komoto enters the realm of eternity, where everyone was preparing for his arrival. But upon arrival, he finds out that his place has been taken. You need to find the imposter and regain your former glory. The project has great gameplay and a good story for 10-15 hours. Under your command, you will have infantry, cavalry, archers and various mystical spirits with their tricks and abilities. But the most important thing will be to protect the general, because if he dies you will lose, but he can stand up for himself and is the strongest unit in the game. In the campaign, you are put in difficult situations when enemies have significant advantages. But there is also multiplayer where you can fight 1, 2 or even 3 opponents on equal terms. It can also be noted that the visuals of the game are on high level and aren't getting boring, because there are several locations from forests to volcanoes and snowy mountains with their own mechanics. In the next game, you will control the Spec Ops. Door kickers. Unlike other strategies, you will need to plan all ahead, and only then see what will come out of it. At the same time, criminals can change their location and go from the back, so you need to carefully review all angles. In some missions, you need to act quickly because the evidence can be destroyed or bomb detonate, which will lead to defeat. A wide variety of equipment is available. For each old soldier, you can choose a primary weapon, secondary weapon, armor, shield, type of grenades, or other equipment that will help break through doors or scout the area. Criminals can also have different weapons. One accurate shot is enough for someone, and someone is difficult to take with the full squad. Sometimes, for example, when cleaning an apartment, you control only 2 soldiers, and sometimes, in particularly difficult situations, a whole group of 8. Also, on some tasks, a sniper will be available for you, who can shoot several targets in his vision. Darkest Dungeon does not forgive mistakes. The oppressive atmosphere makes the characters nervous and doubt their partners. Due to stress, they may start to attack their companions, disobey your orders, etc. You will be able to hire new traveling heroes in town during breaks between expeditions, but they won't be as experienced. The city can also be rebuilt with familiar treasure found in dungeons. There are several locations, each with its own monsters, bosses, curiosities and features. At any point in the battle, your character can miss and the enemy can dodge and do a critical hit that puts your character in a death state and greatly weakens them, leaving them vulnerable to a frontal blow. You need to plan carefully and be prepared for the worst case scenario. Quite often players are overconfident and take more loot than they can carry, and end up losing all the loot and upgraded heroes. Finally, I can say that graphics in the simple are nice and everything looks stylish. In Pathway, the player controls a group of archaeologists and treasure hunters. You have to cross the desert looking at pyramids, settlements and other structures along the way. Anything can happen to you on the way, whether someone wants to join you, or you notice something interesting, or bandits attack. You can also find weapons, bandages, grenades, armor and other items. Enemies will be both zombies and mummies, as well as those who will try to hide the secrets of ancient tombs for you. Characters should end their turn in cover, it's Spartal-like. After the run, you can unlock new heroes. There are 16 of them with their own characteristics. For physics lovers, I also found an interesting toy, Castle Story. In this project, you have to build a castle and protect the main crystal from waves of stone monsters. Brick thrones, so-called workers, will periodically appear from the crystal. You can order them to cut down trees, mine stone and resources from mines, build and craft something, or stand guard and go on an expedition. You can build from small walls to a huge palace with catapults and defensive towers. The waves gradually become more difficult, and over time stronger monsters will appear that can break a part of the wall with one throw and everything will crumble. There is also multiplayer for up to 4 players. Wargroove was inspired by a popular old Flash game called Battalion, but unlike the original source, the setting has moved from modern times to the Middle Ages. After the murder of the king, the young princess is forced to leave her kingdom in search of the culprit and allies. During a battle, the map is divided into tiles through which units can move. It also matters what is placed on the tile, as example a forest, mountain or the meadow, a road. There are also 25 units with some air and water units. There are still heroes that are much stronger than ordinary troops, but when they die the player loses. In addition, you can win if capture the opponent's main castle. There are also other buildings such as those where you can train a special type of troops or earn more profit. This game also has multiplayer for up to 4 players, and a decent editor for maps and new storylines. Recently they also added a company for 2. This is my favorite game on today's list. Well, since this video about strategies, how can you not mention the legendary Xcom series? I think many people know about it, but if you haven't heard about it, I definitely recommend it. Beautiful graphics, interesting gameplay and a good story. From the same developer there is another cool strategy in another atmosphere, Phoenix Point. I also recommend it. Well, I hope you find something interesting for yourself in this list. Well, thank you very much for the view. I am a beginner YouTuber and every person who watches this video is important for me. So please like, write a comment, subscribe to the channel and share this selection. Thank you very much. If you want to see the selection of another genre, write a comment. And also, I will probably make the second part. Good luck to you and have a good day.